How you doing, YouTube family? Today is Tuesday, June the 17th, 2025. Is your man Big D, and I'm back with another one. Want to thank all you good folk out in YouTube land for continuing to show support to my son and I. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Well, family, I am back with another video. And in this video, I want to talk about something that a lot of single men go through. So I know this young brother, and he was telling me about how a lot of companies they view single men differently than perhaps men that are married. And I can say, in my experience, it seems that when you start talking about various companies, and in particular when you're trying to move up in upper management, a lot of people have the concept and the mindset that a man who is married and has children, family, that he is more likely to be foundationally stable, and he will be more likely to put the company, I guess, put the company's best interests at hand. So he sent me this video, and I want to just play it for you family, and just see if we can extrapolate something out of this and see if it's something to be learned.
I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is PsycHacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is the irresponsible man. So in this episode, I'm going to be responding to the most common criticism I've heard in response to a man's decision to not get married or have children. The criticism is fundamentally that the decision is inherently selfish. A bachelor is a man who hoards wealth for himself, which is greedy, miserly, and antisocial. He also must be immature, a perpetual man-child who is afraid of commitment and eager to escape real responsibility.
Now, see, this is amazing because you have these boss chicks that they don't want to get married, they don't want to have no kids. But why is it that when women exhibit the same behavior, that society don't judge them like they judge men? So my thing is this, is that I'm not saying anything is wrong with marriage, but I will say this with this caveat, that if you marry the wrong person, they have the potential to F up your life. And I understand why nowadays men do not want to get married. They're okay with having, their lady, and they okay with looking out for, providing for. But as far as like, getting getting the state involved, because that's what you're doing when you get married, um, they don't want to have no parts of it. And honestly, a lot of people in society view men who are single, especially when they're up in age, single, successful. They view that guy as, oh, he's just a player. He just don't want to get tied down. He just want to just keep slinging meat all over the place. And unfortunately, this same BS mindset, there are a lot of companies that judge harshly men that chose not to get married and not to have a family.
Finally, he must be deluded, as life without a family is devoid of meaning, purpose, and legacy. Literally, nothing is more valuable and important than this, so a man who chooses to forego it is as foolish as a man who prefers 3 brass rings to a single gold coin. I have received this exact criticism many times over the course of my adulthood. In fact, it is often offered in far more judgmental and antagonistic language than I have presented it here. In any case, I'm going to respond to this criticism with my most persuasive counterarguments. Let's get to it. First and foremost, I think it's important to decouple a couple of things. It's like, yes, I believe that marriage and parenthood can provide men with meaning and maturity and legacy and purpose.
Here's the thing. It's my opinion that for men, marriage definitely provides them with legacy. And gentlemen, that's what you got to understand. If you don't have any children, and particularly males, sons, then the legacy of your name ends with you. So that's something that you have to contend with. So yeah, I think I do believe that in a sense that if a man is married with a family, um, and if he's a decent man, he will it will put you in a position where you have to mature faster. You have to grow up because it's not just about you anymore, it's about the other person.
However, it is clearly not the only way to achieve those things. In fact, there are many other ways that men can create a lasting legacy for themselves, can maturely assume responsibility, and can imbue their lives with meaning and purpose that don't involve reproduction. What's more, it seems just as obvious that marriage and parenthood don't always and inevitably provide men with these things. Just look around. The world is full of people raised by deadbeat parents.
And you know what? I agree with that. And the reason why that is, these deadbeat parents should have never been parents anyway. See, it is my opinion that unfortunately everybody is not supposed to be a parent. Some people just is just when you look at it by and large, some people don't need to procreate. And we have to get out of the mindset that especially when we start talking about on these jobs where your growth is is potentially based on if they view you as a stable guy, or if you're gonna be one of them guys who's single and you just gonna be partying all the time and just your life is just just in chaos. In their mind, that may potentially translate back over into your profession, and they may view you as a potential problem, or maybe just not worthy of promotion.
People who were given the opportunity to assume responsibility and did not. Likewise, the world is full of people who receive very little in terms of a legacy from their parents. And I'm not saying this in terms of a monetary inheritance. I'm saying that they learned very little from their parents in terms of wisdom or knowledge or even practical skill. People aren't particularly rich in these attributes in general, and parents are not some special exception. Finally, the world is full of people who became the meaning of their parents' lives, lives which were otherwise devoid of purpose. And that is a role that children neither ask for nor possess the ability to discharge. Take my word for it. A child who unconsciously becomes the vessel for his parents' unlived lives is a therapy patient waiting to happen. All right, so at this point, we're more or less forced to admit that marriage and parenthood are not the only ways to secure meaning, maturity, legacy, and purpose, and that meaning, maturity, legacy, and purpose do not always attend marriage and parenthood. So we have to concede that these two groups, the institutions on the one hand and the values on the other, are functionally independent. Sometimes they go together and sometimes they don't, which isn't an entirely reassuring observation. So, why do so many people act as if marriage and parenthood are the be all end all for individual growth and fulfillment? It's actually very simple. It's because they are ordinary, conventional people. And ordinary, conventional people, among other things, lack initiative, and imagination. Case in point, ask the same people who criticize bachelors, a simple question: how should I make money? How should I make money? And I'll bet you dollars to donuts that 99 out of 100 will tell you get a job. Ordinary people are employees. And because they have an employee mentality, they literally cannot imagine another way of making money other than a job. And they're afraid they'll die penniless in some godforsaken gutter without one. Make no mistake, the people who tell you to get a job to make money are the same people who are going to tell you to get married to grow up. And in my opinion, ordinary conventional people are about as equipped to give good financial advice as they are to hold forth on purpose and meaning. It's not very nice to say, but the average person has about as much fulfillment as he has money, which is to say, not very much of either. So, what is his take on these?
So, family, I would have to agree with him on that. You know, all in all, I believe that everybody has a purpose, in particular men. A man has a purpose. And until that purpose is discovered, because people have purposes, but they go a whole lifetime never understanding or realizing their true purpose of being, on this planet. So, first of all, you have to understand what your purpose is, understand the assignment. And once you understand the assignment, now you must go on to fulfill your purpose. And along the way, whether you're married or not, because I tell men this all the time, get to a certain level of success before thinking about marriage, children, and family. Because if your life is not together, men, then how can you expect a woman to follow you? Because the first thing a woman gonna say is that, well, you want me to go 50-50, you ain't got it together. So in order to alleviate all that BS, get yourself together first. I don't know what that look like. It's gonna be different for some people. Some people, it might look like college. For some people, it might look like trade school. For some people, it might look like the military. But whatever you do, find your purpose, understand your purpose, fulfill your purpose. But while you're doing that, make sure that you get that bag of money. And whatever you do, can't worry about what society thinks, how society views you because you're not married, you don't have children. Listen, can't worry about what society thinks. What matters is how you view yourself when you look in the mirror. That's what it's all about, family. Well, family, always remember, be more tomorrow than you were yesterday. Peace.